about navigating the people side of organizational change in terms of how that really fits in, or why I bother to have a conversation about that. In my various roles that I've had throughout the roughly 16 years of my career, which I won't go into in detail because you already have my bio, but I just always happen to be on the people side of change as opposed to processes or methodologies. That is owed to my professional background in learning and development, talent management, and diversity and inclusion. So those are the lenses from which the conversation is coming. What I want you to keep in mind is that from my perspective, change hinges on a couple of different things. Among those is I see change as being more than just an event. It's really about transformation more so than anything else. And also, I feel like effective change management hinges on the transformation of both people and the organizational culture. The experiences that I've had caused me to be very emphatic about this point, because we tend to get caught up in the project plans and the new technology and the implementation. But everything that happens in an organization really comes back to the people who work there and the experiences that they have, even with all the different initiatives and changes that are taking place. How will change impact the people, how they operate, how they relate to each other, and how they make progress in an organization? In addition, my views and change and the application of change principles are aligned with appreciative inquiry. So I see the world through the lenses of focusing on what's working more so than what's not. Not that one would want to minimize or discount the negative experiences or the hiccups, but more often than not, focusing on what's working gives you something to leverage, gives you a source of momentum to carry things forward, even while ironing out the kinks that are in the process. And so I tend to view experiences and change through a positive lens, being mindful that not everyone does that, but I find that that helps a lot. So in essence, for me, change is fundamentally about people. It doesn't really matter what specific things in the environment one would modify or make different, whether it's the technology, the process, or the organizational structure. And I've lived through my fair share of all of those things. But ultimately, it's really about the impact on the people involved and the people who are implicated, because in a lot of cases, persons are on the receiving side of change, and there needs to be a lot more emphasis on them and the impact on them and or how they live through changes. With that background in mind, I'll share a few more points to clarify and give some more context. It's more so from a qualitative and or anecdotal perspectives. So I'm not going to throw lots of stats at you. It's more so about the experiential and or qualitative side of things, in alignment with my general view about focusing on people. How people view organizations also influence their perspectives on change. The literature in change management would describe different schools of thought around how people see organizations and how that influences how they relate to concepts of change. For me, organizations, just like all other aspects of life, are about learning. I tend to subscribe to that school of thought versus a bigger focus on organizational structure and the power dynamics that go with that. I see all the experiences, all the changes, all the things that happen as a basis on which one can learn and develop. And likewise, organizations that are learning organizations tend to be able to ride out the waves of change better. So that's the lens that I put that in. But there are lots of different categories of how people define change and define organizations. Some kind of learning will come out of it, whether it goes the way we want or not, that there's always something we can take out of that context or out of the experience. So let's talk about how people experience change from the perspective of leadership. What I found is that effective leadership to support and to sustain change requires buy-in from the leaders, effective communication from leaders, and behavior modeling. If you're trying to accomplish something or to improve something in your organization, the leaders themselves have to be bought into the idea that it's an improvement. So much so that there is enough discomfort with the status quo that they will want to embrace what is to be accomplished and or the transformation that is being proposed. If not, you will find that it hinders a lot of different things. For example, how much allocation of resources there will be if the leaders themselves see value in what's proposed versus not. From there, once they're fully bought in, then there would need to be some effective communication, because that's how leaders will encourage others to be bought in to the transformation as well. And in the context of change, there is no such thing as over communicating. It can't be a one-off thing. There has to be lots of reinforcement and lots of emphasis, because that's how persons are bought in to the fact that this is for real. It's important enough that it's being said frequently enough. Then we go from not just talking about the transformation, but also the behavior modeling that goes with it. You've probably heard the expression, you need to have the walk and the talk. So it's not all just talk. People want to see tangible actions, tangible differences versus whatever existed before, to see indicators of progress. I'm just thinking about my work. I'm focused on diversity and inclusion. In a lot of cases, the feedback that I've heard from employees of my client organizations when I do focus groups, for example, is that if one of these ingredients is missing from the equation, it causes employees to question the commitment of the leadership to the transformation. So the buy-in, the communication, and the behavior modeling are all equally essential ingredients to move forward when it comes to transformation and people navigating change. Aligned with that, once the buy-in, the communication, and the behaviors align, then it becomes a lot easier for leaders to motivate the employee base to align with the change and to take action, and also to sustain the transformation when it's taking place. We know, just like anything else in life, motivation will also help to propel things forward. It's important to be highly motivated, even in those times where the status of whatever you're working on might not be as encouraging as you would like. Just like anything else in life, there will be kinks along the way. By remaining motivated, leaders and the persons in one's charge will not jump off the proverbial wagon when the road gets bumpy, but to stick with it, because we were all bought in and we are fully persuaded that it's worth it to keep going when things are not going as planned. Apart from leadership and leadership skills and leadership attitudes, I've also noticed that outside of the technical skills involved with executing on different initiatives, programs, and projects, there are some trends that have been emerging, and they seem to all be aligned with the people side of change. The points around this came from the Change Management Institute, which is a global organization that professionals in the field of change management are aligned to. And there is a Canadian chapter of which I am a member. The Change Management Institute published some results going into 2020, and this was all pre-COVID-19 as well, that speak to trends around skills and competencies for persons who would be change managers or would be leading change. Predictions around skills and competencies that were needed and for which they had noticed there was a gap among practitioners globally. There was coaching and partnering. Some persons might be surprised to hear that, but to effectively lead change and lead people through change, whether you're an external consultant or in-house, you need to know how to help people to get to their goals and how to overcome their own personal barriers to advancing on those goals. Of course, being able to collaborate and work closely with others is a key part as well in terms of maintaining your credibility and being able to assess the needs of those you're partnering with. These two things go hand in hand, really. In addition, they saw that adaptability and a continuous learning mindset were crucial because, again, you have to be prepared to adjust and adapt as things evolve. I don't think I need to tell anyone in this conversation that in 2020 is most evident in almost everything related to life and work, the ability to adapt, to learn, and to grow from whatever experiences you find yourself in. Again, this was pre George Floyd and this was pre COVID when this report came out. So that was very timely that they foresaw these things being needed, even without the specifics that we would not have known at that time. The other things that were emerging were relating to mentoring and emotional intelligence. The report from which I had extracted the points about coaching, partnering, adaptability, and learning didn't necessarily have these, but from my observations of the different trainings and continuous learning that they've implemented for change management practitioners in 2020, almost all of them had some overlapping components with what we already talked about, but also in terms of mentoring and emotional intelligence. You also have to help people along their journey of experiencing change as well. So there is a whole series around change leaders being mentors and coaches for organizational leaders, specifically around the change experience. Overall, the point being made here is that as we think about people in organizations and as we equip ourselves to add as much value to those we serve, we want to amplify the focus on those areas that will help us to help other people. Hence, the list on your screen are some of the top things that have been observed in terms of trends around specific skills and competencies. Finally, I want to talk us what I'll call the post-implementation phases, how people experience change and how we can empower and enable them during those periods. When we have big projects and we're implementing different changes, we tend to see change as an event. So the go live date or the implementation date would seem like the end of that journey, when really it's just the beginning of the journey at that point for most persons that will experience the change. One of the schools of thought that I tend to almost default to when I think about how people experience change after there's a huge implementation, everyone is not at the same place on that journey once things go live. And so it could be any number of those experiences that you're seeing on your screen. Some persons will go through the full thing, or some might fast track through some phases. But it's worthwhile taking the time to understand where people are on the change curve and also why they're at that point. There tends to be an assumption that someone is resisting change just because they don't like change. for a lot of people, it's not even that they're resisting the change as it is they are trying to find a way to manage the change themselves. So we want to look out for the signs of where an individual is. First of all, if you're a leader, where are you on that scale, and be honest with yourself about what you're experiencing, but also being mindful that each person on your team is not at the same place on this curve either. And you have to be prepared to support them wherever they are on that scale. We would want to hope that as soon as the implementation happens, that they're jumping to point 0.6 and then to point 0.7. There's no such thing. Part of your job as the leader will be to determine where they are and to get them the resources and the support that they need, even if it's not directly from you and you have to refer them somewhere for further support. But the idea is that you have to have on your radar that people experience changes differently, and we have to accept and support them at whatever point of need that you find them. The other school of thought that I wanted to bring to us around how people experience change and how we want to help and support them on that journey so that the change can be sustained comes from William Bridges. I like this particular approach that he has because it's a bit of a journey. So if you think of the implementation as you're being on the shores at that time, as you're moving more and more into deep waters, there is a longing for or a missing what's gone and all the challenges that come with that. But eventually, over time, people get to that point where they've come to terms with the realities of that change, and then the change of mindset towards a new beginning. So not so much focusing on what you're moving away from as it is what you're moving now towards in the new way of being and doing, so that you can embrace the difference that it means for your work, for your life, for how you operate. And also you can embrace the new world, so to speak, as you move forward. In conclusion, what I've sought to capture in these few slides are my observations from a qualitative and anecdotal point of view around how people experience change in organizations, and as professionals within whatever our spheres of influences are, how we can enable, empower, and support others along the journey of managing change. And thank you for your time and attention. Hope that you were able to glean some useful insights applicable to your work and life.